ideas offline and online today, and what is the right business for you. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jane Gardner. I work with my husband in our structural engineering firm for the last 20 years, and I'm coming out onto the internet to help others start their own home business. And we have been talking about what is your business idea. Is it offline or online? We're going to talk about both, and we're going to clarify the revenue you want and focus on your strengths and talents. But right now, we looked at what business can you do to give people more time in their life, and we looked at offline in our previous episode, so go have a look at that one. Some of the ideas that were profitable were, as long as you find your hungry market, of course, is a personal chef, gardening, cleaning, housekeeping, carpentry, home repair, any skills or talents that you have, whether it's customizing motorcycles or or painting, in terms of being an artist. There are always a need for these type of things as long as you find your market. We also looked at online business ideas and some of the business models that are being used online in a previous episode. So what can you do online with a computer and, I don't know, your webcam, with some other skills? So offline, you don't just have service businesses, of course. We looked at creating a product in our last episode and clarifying the revenue that you want for that, and selling obviously locally. You can make a living as an artisan or artist if you can find the people who enjoy your creations, whether it's handmade furniture, painting, sculpture, stained glass. There are people out there who enjoy what you make, and now of course you can expand into the internet and to worldwide to find the target market for your artisan business. So we've had a few episodes. So today we're going to do finding your target market initially. We'll see how much detail we can get into because this is quite extensive. This would be my first thing I would do when I was starting a home business, is figuring out if I had a market, obviously. So why you need to understand your customers. You need to understand your customers on an individual level, and what does your ideal customer look like, and what do they want and need, and meeting specific customer needs gives a business its advantage. So first you have to analyze your product or service. So start with something that you've got that you have as a business idea, and write down a list of features and the benefits they provide. And ask yourself, who does it benefit in terms of in general, and then we can niche it down to more detailed information. But for example, if you were an artist and you were thinking of selling to people, what would be the benefit for your art and what would be the features of your art? So for example, I assume you're probably painting to your own desire if you're a painter. And what would be the features of your art that you think that people would enjoy most? And then ask yourself, how would it benefit them? Well, of course, usually art is bought because people enjoy it and they desire it, and etc. So ask yourself, who does it benefit? So if you're starting from scratch and starting up a home business, analyze the general market as if you were a new business and look for demographic data, but also use your intuition as well, what you feel might be a good market for you. So your intuition can look at, who do you envision to be your ideal customer? Who would you like to be your customer? What groups are most or not least likely to buy from you? What problems will your product or service help solve, and how do they feel about the products they buy? And then you have a look at some hard data in demographics. The information would include age, location, gender, income, and education. So most governments, local community governments, as well as the country, have demographics because they need it for obviously doing taxes and stuff like that. So you can certainly go find demographics if you're going to be doing an offline business for your local area. Also defining how local is your local area, because if you can do local and get your business online as well, then you have the whole world to market to. And of course, you're not going to be everybody who wants your service or product, so you need to define what their age is, what the location is, gender, income, and education, and where are they hanging out. Then you have to look at the psychographics, which is subjective data about what they think or feel. So that information would include their personality, what their attitude is, what the values they have, what country are they from, which may affect their culture, and whether or not they would buy from you, as well as the hobbies that you're looking for that would be of interest to those people who might want your product or service. So for example, if you're an editor, a book editor, and you want to market your editing services, you can probably find a lot of demographics as well as psychographics, as well as research on how many people want to create a book and where they want to, what they want to do and where they want to do it and what the demand is for creating a book. And then you can go and market to that group of people. You can also look at what media they interact with and where. So that would include magazines, TV, movies, websites, and of course social media. So if you're a book editor, then of course you'll go to Writer Magazine, which I love, of course, because anyone who wants to write a book wants a subscription to Writer Magazine, so you can have a look at their demographics and stuff. And then of course there was the demographics, and then the purchasing behavior, how they make purchasing decisions. So that information would include what do they buy? Do they buy journals, for example, if they're writers? When do they buy? Is it near Christmas time that they get journals as a present? What is their strategy? What are they looking for? So I think for any writer, they are looking for time and they're looking for help. And usually it's a matter of getting someone to help them finish their books. So that would just be a rough idea on what you're looking at. So you're looking at the demographics of your area, the psychographics, what do they want and desire. And then we have a look at the practical when you look at the media that they might be watching, and the purchasing behavior. When do they buy? What is their strategy and what they're looking for? So if you get to know a lot of that information, you can certainly define your audience. And if you're looking at, for example, a work-at-home mom who's about age 30, who's always wanted to write a book, busy with children, but she'd like to plan to have it done in about 2 or 3 years. So you can have a look at the subscription information for, say, the Writer Magazine and see who is actually subscribing to it, and you might find that you were wrong, that actually they don't have the time to write. So you're looking at a 50-year-old. So you need to do the research in order to figure out who your customers are. And if you have people that you know, you could always ask them by email personally and give them some ideas and questions about whether or not they'd be interested in writing a book and what's the biggest challenge for them to write a book, that kind of thing. So you could do that with your friends or family, or if you have people on email, you subscribe to your information, then you can connect and elicit feedback and ask them questions and surveys and wondering whether or not they'd be interested in that kind of thing. And of course you can, on social media, you can keep in steady contact with your customers. Potentially you could join forums, groups, and discussions. You might be a realtor who wants to sell a house in a certain local area, so you would join the local Chamber of Commerce and any Facebook group they have and that kind of thing, so everybody keeps aware of who you are, and ask them questions and research your customers in the local area. So even if you're not a person buying a house, you can certainly be the realtor who is going to sell the house and be in a group that is local. Even if they aren't selling a house, they still know some of the ideas behind it. And of course, you can always do face-to-face in-person events. You could go to training events, you could go to trade shows, you could go to the chamber. There's business BIN meetings that you can go to just to say who you are and find out and get feedback from others, whether there's a demand for your service or product in the local area, or offer gifts or freebies. So basically, you're going to be going out and asking yourself questions on who you think your customers are, as well as going to do the research to find out who your customers are. You can ask questions of your family and friends, and you can ask questions in social media and email, and go out and meet people. So that's a summary of what you can do to find your target market. It's basically research, and in-person events. So if you want to learn more about how you can turn your business idea into a real viable business today, just go to the link below to find out how at http://bohbtips.com/step-by-step. Thank you for listening. This is Jane Gardner.